Assalamu alaikum. In translation, that means peace be with you. It's a principle by which I live my life. It's the reason. Okay, here it goes. It's the reason I became a UU and the reason I work for a just peace in Israel-Palestine. I avoided the Israeli-Palestinian issue for much of my life. Like many people, I saw it as too complex, too depressing. But the issue kept calling to me. My mother's family is Christian, my father's family is Muslim, and my husband's family is Jewish. I feel at home in all three cultures. Yet I also feel like an other because I see multiple perspectives that others do not. I've seen prejudice from friends and family on both sides. I've heard Arabic friends joke about Jewish greed. A Jewish family member said in front of my daughter at our Passover Seder that all the Arabs should be sent to the desert because that's where they belong. On Facebook, friends have posted videos portraying all Muslims as violent terrorists. But I've also been so blessed to witness the warmth and generosity of both Jewish and Muslim cultures and to see that they share more similarities than they realize. I know that peace is possible if we stop allowing the extremists on both sides to drive the agenda. After the summer of 2014, I knew I had to take action. As a US taxpayer whose country gives more military aid to Israel than to any other nation, I watched as hundreds of civilians were bombed in Gaza, which has one of the highest population densities in the world. My UU principles drew me to action. My belief in world community with peace, liberty, and justice for all calls me to reject a politics of divisiveness. I can stand against institutionalized discrimination and segregation and at the same time be both pro-Israeli and pro-Palestinian. In the words of Dr. Cornel West, I would hope that we can proceed based on a double love, a love for precious Jewish brothers and sisters and a love for precious Palestinian brothers and sisters. That's not a contradiction. Both groups have been terrorized and traumatized and stigmatized. If there was a Palestinian occupation of Jewish brothers and sisters, we ought to be morally outraged. If there's an Israeli occupation of Palestinian brothers and sisters, we ought to be morally outraged. But we must never tolerate one iota of anti-Jewish hatred or one iota of anti-Muslim sensibility. Can we walk that line? Many say the situation is hopeless, and yet how many of us believed in 1980 that we would see peace in Northern Ireland or South Africa? When I began organizing, hopelessness was replaced by inspiration from meeting resilient people like Rabbi Merrill Crean, who we are honored to host today. I was inspired by the work of NGOs like the Parents Circle, which is highlighted in our video today, thanks to some last-minute finagling by Bob. Thanks, Bob. They're a joint Israeli-Palestinian movement of people who've lost family members in the conflict, and they've educated thousands of people and met with world leaders about reconciliation strategies. In the holiday season, we're reminded to care for our neighbors and for strangers. We are reminded of our best selves, of that center of unconditional love that we each can tap into. That is where the peaceful solution lies. When we act from our best selves, we know that we may not control the outcome, but we can control our own actions. We stand for what is right because that is how we choose to live our lives. That calm center of peace sustains us even against great odds. This conflict hurts both Palestinians and Israelis, fueling anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Occupation eats away at people's humanity. It erodes the morality of the occupier and the dignity of the occupied, rendering both more violent. The only way forward for both nations is to accept each other's common humanity. It is possible to build a future in which both Palestinian and Israeli children grow up with full rights. From my best self to your best self. If you have a dream of peace and justice in your heart, then give it a voice. Let it take wing in your actions. Don't allow the voices of division to be the loudest voices that are heard. I invite you to join us in dialogue today at noon with Rabbi Merrill Crean. We may all have different ideas about how to get there, but as UUs, we all stand for peace. Salam and shalom. Peace be with you all.